All right, so Jeanette, how was that experience for you?
You know, I do love it because, like, I would never thought to have a meal, you know, have the meeting as a meal, like if I hadn't been part of this conversation.
Right.
Like that wasn't part of my thought process. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
That's excellent. How else was it? How else was the experience?
I mean, I think it was very, I like to talk things through, and like, so Katharyn didn't really have to ask many questions.
Easy for me.
But so to me, just to hear, it moves things along in my thoughts, just to hear what think. But you did ask some great questions, like I think thinking, okay, what's that meeting going to look like? And how are you going to share? You know, I was thrilled that you noticed my enthusiasm. You know?
There's no doubt about that.
So, so noticing things like that felt affirming, certainly. And that you're nodding and so on. So, and I felt like when I was sharing how the first time I talked about Christy being like go to worship and not meeting anything, you were nodding and that. So again, that felt like affirming. So.
Excellent. How was the experience for you, Katharyn?
It was good. I you know, that is a really exciting thing to start, and so I was like, I want to hear more about what this is, and so I started there, but I was like, I don't want to let myself and my interests get into the way of your work forward.
Good for you.
And so I was really trying to figure out those things, but that one question about how do you take these people who have this very, very much interest in having the young, I mean the kids involved, like that worried me for you. Because I don't want to take these people who are so excited and then take their issues and put it in the back burner. And so it's like, you know, how do you work through that? And I wanted to know how you were going to work through that. And because I don't know exactly how to make sure that their needs are so I tried to frame that in a way that you would start thinking about that too. Because you don't want to lose somebody else's momentum and energy.
Right.
They're as excited, I'm sure, as you are.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it was that one was one of my only, like, how am I going to phrase this in a way that is really about moving you forward? And I think that it did. Like, I think we had a good.
I thought you did that very artfully.
Okay.
I thought that was personally, I thought it was great.
Okay.
To see those distinctions, and because I wondered where you were going initially.
Yeah.
And then you asked her to relate the two together, and I thought that really moved her forward.
Right.
I thought that was tremendous.
Okay.
So it's hard to know when you're inserting. You did a great job of active feedback.
Right.
But there's a fine line between active feedback and stealing the conversation.
Exactly.
When coaching is facilitating her monologue, right?
Yes.
So, but I thought you did a great job.
Okay.
Other observations about what happened?
Just a question. Katharyn, I appreciated your note taking. I don't know, is there a protocol in relationships like this to do that?
That's a great question. So different coaches like to do different things. I usually take notes. Now I do it on my iPad, but I often have like a moleskin notepad that I kept. And I often, for my clients, type up the notes that I wrote and I'll send them to them afterwards. I don't always do that, but I do that sometimes because I find it's helpful for them to be able to reflect on the conversation. But it's also good for clients to take notes for themselves too.
Yeah, and for me, like, I didn't know when to start. Like, that first point where I started writing was the hardest thing because I didn't want to break that initial contact. And so I made sure that, like, she had just made eye contact with me, then I wrote a note down. So I knew that she'd be looking away for a moment.
So that's a great observation, because part of the challenge of note-taking is how do you do that without interrupting the flow that you're generating with your client?
Right.
And that can be I know there are some coaches out there who say, no, you can write your verbatim after the experience, but not during. But if you're writing verbatim during the experience, you're not doing what you're supposed to do anyway.
No,
So I found that helpful because it kept me focused without maybe being distracted.
Right.
And going in a direction.
Exactly, and that's so I was like trying to figure out, okay, she's got these things, like which one of these is actually the most important? Because when somebody's listing things out, at first you're not really, you know, what you're hearing the first thing, but that's not necessarily the one that we most need to work on. And so I was able to kind of like process that list in my mind in a different way if I write it down. But that's just me. I know that about myself.
One of the things you need to also is just ask up front when you're doing a little bit of housekeeping to find out, you know, what the person wants to talk about.
Right.
Is ask them if they mind if you take notes.
Yeah.
I was going to say, for it made me feel like she thought it was important. That, you know.
Yeah. I also take notes because then afterwards, when I do my own reflection on my coaching, then I can insert my own comments about what was I managing, was I getting in the way? So it's my own learning from the coaching session where notes helped me a lot.
That's great insight, Steve.
Sure.
Thank you.
I didn't notice you were taking notes. I think a lot of people would have that experience actually, that like you get caught in your own thought processes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you just have to manage yourself, I think. But you can experiment. I mean, we're all new enough coaches in here. Try things out.
Yeah.
Let it be research and development. And if you self-reflect afterwards that the note-taking, the way you were doing wasn't helpful, then don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kristen, go ahead.
So I love the question around the tension that was there for her wanting to do the 20s and 30s, and
Mhm.
then the folks that are present wanting to do more youth. I like the little bit of tension that put into the conversation because I thought it stopped her listing off and just like in some ways I wasn't sure where the conversation was going until you inserted that, and I really think that opened a breakthrough for her. Then that's when the experiential part came out. All of the conclusion came out after that point of tension. So
Right.
I thought that was a great question. And some of the things that I was thinking about at the beginning is like, what is missing at your church, or I had the sense that there was some kind of like anxiety or fear around this, or that there's something. That was just a question I had, like why this, or what is missing, or what do you hope to have out of this? So I thought that question actually got to somewhere. And then before that, I was trying to figure out what is her ideal outcome of all this? Like, what are you wanting to have happen? But anyways, I thought that question just shifted the whole conversation. So.
I will say, and this is constructive feedback I can offer you because I'm learning this in my own coaching.
Yeah.
It's what they call an ICF, the coaching agreement. I've started calling it the coach's drill.
Okay.
And it's really 3 moves that happens in the coaching conversation. And it starts with, what do you want to work on?
Mm-hmm.
And it moves to, what's the core issue here?
Mm-hmm.
And then it moves to, what's an ideal outcome for this?
Mm-hmm.
It asks people, it moves from, what do you want to work on?
Mm-hmm.
What are you addressing today? To, what's the core issue? To what's the ideal outcome? And you can ask those in different ways and you're still getting at the same thing. But I call that the coach's drill. Now here's the key. We're doing these in 15-minute segments.
Right.
Clients will come to me sometimes and say, Nathan, I want to work on 3 things. Which means we have 3 micro conversations, a little 15-minute, and it works great like that. But if the coaching agreement is in there, then you're always moving your client towards a constructive, positive outcome that will facilitate both results and growth. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Nathan, the one thing I was thinking about throughout the whole thing is kind of a little bit similar to that is what obstacles would there be?
Another great question.
Right.
Kind of
I was trying to find a time but there was so much coming out of here. I didn't want to stop the flow. And especially when there were several moments where I kind of saw the ahas happening.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I can't inject one of these other questions because there was just too short of a time to get there.
That's
what
part
I
of the
found.
challenge of the 15-minute time
Yeah.
horizon. But the obstacle questions is often really, really hard.
Right.
I thought you did a great job. The thing that I was thinking about was it made sense in the question about the families and the 20s and 30s, but some of your other questions had a bit of a preface to them
Okay.
that sometimes I think if you just short and sweet, so
Sure.
what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's next?
And that's great, not only great insight, but that's the movement. That right there is the movement from ACC quality coaching to PCC quality coaching. It's the eradication of the preamble.
Okay.
What is that? What is it?
It's
The
the,
acronym is for us.
I don't have an acronym.
So,
I don't have
I
it.
mean, ACC.
Oh, Associate Certified Coach.
Oh,
The
right.
credentials that Christy and I have. To the PCC quality coaching. Like Jonathan Wright will tell you, I was a card-carrying preambler. In a mentor coaching group that I'm part of right now, working on my PCC, it's something I've been able to eradicate from my coaching relationship. So I don't do the preamble the same way anymore. But that's something that actually makes you really powerful. The shorter the question, the more focused the question, the more powerful the interaction.
Okay.
So,
The other
and we're
question,
nitpicking now.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
good
yeah.
with that, yeah.
the other question I loved, besides one that Kristen pointed out, was the question about enthusiasm.
Yes, in the end.
Because what you were able to do
At the very
you
end.
noticed something
Yeah.
really important, and then you put it right back onto her, and you did that kind of like notice question in one move, and what you noticed about your enthusiasm, maybe you were like giggling. That you had this enthusiasm, and she noticed it. And to me, actually, that was the most important thing to come out of this, was you love this idea. And you got to do it if you love it, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. There's no
And it
doubt.
was at the end of the conversation when you had said, this has been great. So you were shutting things down and you came back with a question.
Yeah.
How are you going to share this enthusiasm
Right.
with others? And
Yeah, I was like, no, we've got more time. I'm not stuck. There's more to develop.
The one question I have about some of Katharyn's approach was that that you were very pointed at some points, kind of, to me it sounded like almost drill sergeant-y of,
Okay.
how are you going to make that happen? What's going to be next? And it's short, some of that was really short and sweet. Some of it, to me, I feel like if I were Jeanette, I would be like, I don't know yet, I don't know. Like, and I just don't know what's the balance, or if other people kind of.
And my guess is that would be different if I was talking to somebody different.
Yeah.
But I could tell she already had it.
Okay.
Those, you know, like, so it was like, I need to keep moving to keep up with what her thought process was. I don't know that I would respond exactly the same with a different person. I don't know. I mean, I would have to look at my own style, but I felt like I needed to be on it because she was ready with the next piece already.
a subtle question dynamic is, what questions don't cause reactive justification? How questions often do. And you had a predilection in your coaching towards the how rather than the what.
Okay.
So one of the things I would challenge you to do is, how can you reframe the how questions as what questions?
Okay.
Because even when they're being peppered, like Meredith was talking about, really focused and short and sweet,
Yeah.
they can create a different emotional response. Jeanette already trusts you.
Yeah.
You already have this container, and you know she's not going to have you on a firing line, but somebody else might not.
Okay.
So,
That's helpful.
yeah.
Yeah, there was just,
What the hell?
you actually asked 9 questions, I wrote
No, how
them
or
down.
what?
Okay.
So if you
You
want
want
those
what?
afterwards, I'll give them to you.
Sure.
As much as possible.
And
Less how, more what.
in the middle, you said, so let's,
I'm sorry, Chris.
okay.
No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You said, so let's narrow this down to first steps in August. What do you need to get there? So that was really she was out here, and then you just took it and you went, whew.
Right.
Another way to approach that, because that really was leading her,
Okay.
would be, to ask her, what direction do you want to go?
Okay.
What do you want? Where do you want to take this? Because she had been going in a lot of different,
Right.
or a few different directions.
Okay.
To let her make the choice.
Sure.
Just construct.
Can you say that again?
Um,
I just want to hear you say that last part again.
let your client make the choice.
No, I know that, but how do you reframe the question?
What direction do you want to go?
Yeah, what direction do you want to go?
Instead of,
You could even say, you said this and this.
she asked her the date, she said, you're going to do this in August, what do you need to do?
She said, so let's narrow this down to first steps in August. What do you need to
Yeah.
get there?
Yep.
Yeah.
And your reframing was again, one more time?
My reframing would be, what step would you like to take towards this? Or what would you like to do with what you just talked about? I don't think you would have needed to recap because you kind of did that prior. But you can make a difference between a recap and then a what question that lets her
Sure.
make the decision where she
Okay.
really wants to go.
Mm.
Because I just felt like you were processing, and I know you,
Yeah.
and I know that's how
Yeah,
your brain
exactly.
works. But
And I think also, we know there's 15 minutes, so.
Right.
Yeah. But it's still, it's you. You're the client, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
really
yeah,
have
exactly,
to
yeah.
separate your own thoughts about what is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Great insight.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody want a last word? Well done.
Yeah.
And a great example of how even a 15-minute session with somebody can produce fruit that's really, really useful.